The Humanoids by Jack Williamson. So this book was copyright 1949, and I have this edition here from Lancer Books. It was originally a serialized novel in Astounding magazine and then later published as a novel, like I showed you there. But I also have this edition here from Avon Books, and this one's quite a bit different because it includes a couple other things that you're not going to find in just the standalone novel. This has a short story he wrote prior to writing the novel. I think the short story came out in 1947, and it's called With Folded Hands. And then it has the entire novel, The Humanoids, in it. And then there's an essay at the end called Me and My Humanoids. And if you find any interest in this book as I go through it, I highly recommend trying to find a copy of this, or at least hunting down the short story ahead of time and maybe trying to find the essay at the end, because this complete package offers a lot more, I think, than if you were just to go out and read this novel. So I'm going to talk first about the short story With Folded Hands, because in my opinion, I enjoyed it a little bit more, or quite a bit more, than the novel The Humanoids. It goes over a lot of the same ideas, and it was very well regarded when it came out. You can find it all over the place. It's in the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, Volume 2, 2A. You can find it in The Best of Jack Williamson, and here on the cover is a depiction of one of the central ideas of these stories with these humanoid robots. And it's been anthologized in all sorts of different anthologies throughout the years. It's a very important, pivotal short story in science fiction. And so let's talk about that. So it's called With Folded Hands. And what Jack Williamson was envisioning here was artificially intelligent robots. And this was in the mid to late 40s. Even before the term AI or artificial intelligence was coined. And, Isaac Asimov, he wrote tons of short stories about robots and novels, and I've read all of them. I've read all of Asimov's robot short stories and all of the novels. And there's a concept that's come out in a few of Asimov's short stories about robots who take their programming a little bit too literally. So these robots are here to help humanity and help protect them. But sometimes they just, like I said, they take it too literally to where they don't want the humans doing anything dangerous. They don't want them ingesting anything dangerous. And in Asimov's stories, he's quick to correct these issues based on the programming of the robots. Asimov states in a lot of the introductions to his short stories that his stories aren't really a metaphor for some other ideas and themes. They're engineering problems in most of them. So when these robots start taking their programming too literally, the scientists and the engineers come in and correct these issues, and the robots are fixed. So Jack Williamson does something a little different in here. So these robots are taking these commands too literally. They're basically stripping away the humans' freedoms. They're stripping away their humanity because they're not letting them do anything that could be harmful or dangerous to themselves. Now, if a human has issues with depression, or they had thoughts that remind them of bad things that happened in the past, these robots see that as harmful to humans, and they can basically erase their memories, give them a brain wipe, and then these humans are left with this kind of ignorance is bliss, and they're happy again. But in a way, that's harmful to humans. We probably don't want that to happen. We don't want our memories wiped because we have some bad memories. That's kind of what makes us human. And there's people in the short story and in the novel who see this and want to stop these robots from doing what they're programmed to do. But in Williamson's world here, all of these commands are coming from a different planet off in a different part of the galaxy. And this planet is projecting these commands all over the galaxy to wherever these humanoid robots are. And so to stop these robots from implementing these orders, you have to disrupt this base that's at this planet. And it has layers of protection, all this stuff going on. So that kind of becomes the plot of how to stop these robots in both of these, both the short story and the novel. So in the short story with Folded Hands, that's the basic concept. You have these robots that come down. The inventor shows up on Earth and he teams up with the main character, and they go on kind of a mission to try to disrupt the commands given to these robots. And it has a really interesting ending that you don't really see coming. It's different in many unique ways. And overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the short story. Like I said, track that down at least and read With Folded Hands. It's very important. It came out in the mid to late 40s. It came up with some really good ideas and themes. And, you know, the main central theme in both of these is the dangers of technology, especially, you know, the overuse of it. So that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about really on the short story With Folded Hands. Now I'm going to briefly kind of go into the novel, The Humanoids. So after the success of With Folded Hands, John W. Campbell kind of encouraged Jack Williamson to write more about this, expand it into a novel. And he also convinced him to add psionics into this. And overall, I did enjoy the novel, not as much as the short story. The idea of the psionics, it was something that was pretty popular around this time. I know John W. Campbell was kind of promoting this idea. It got in the way of the story a little bit for me because you have the same basic concept. You have some people that realize these humanoid robots that show up on Earth are preventing people from having their freedoms. They start brain wiping people, and they see this as a problem, and they need to, you know, disrupt this programming from this far off planet again. And they have, so these humanoid robots have layers of protection that are preventing, you know, just sending missiles out to this planet and blowing it up or whatever. And so the introduction of this group of characters that have psionic abilities is incorporated into the novel. And there's about 4 of these characters who have different abilities, from telepathy and teleportation and things like that. And they're kind of joined in with the group of humans, or normal humans, to try to stop these robots. Now, the story was good. The plot moved along fine. It did feel dated, even compared to the short story. This one had some of the issues that other science fiction from this era have, where the characters feel a little flat. There's other issues with, you know, gender and stuff that come up in this one that just makes it feel a little dated. And I can get over some of those things because the ideas and the themes are really interesting. But overall, it just, the story kind of chugged along a little slower. Even though it was a fast-paced book, there was issues with like the science he tried to introduce into this, because he kind of invented this whole branch of science to explain how some of the science, this speculative science, would work. And he spent quite a bit of time going over it. And I'm sure reading it in the 40s would have been a little bit more entertaining than reading about that, you know, speculative science in 2025. But overall, I was just kind of a little bit more lukewarm on the novel in general. Once again, though, it had a great ending that you don't see coming, and it's very thought-provoking. So the ideas and the themes and the thought-provoking nature of this one, great. The plot was kind of clunky at times. You know, the villains are over the top. The characters are kind of flat. There's some of those issues that bring it down a little bit for me. But when I finished the book, I read the essay called Me and My Humanoids, and it made me think a lot more, like a little bit more highly of the novel in general. Now, don't read that essay until after you finish the novel because he spoils all kinds of things. But he talks about how this is really a metaphor of the dangers of technology. It's pretty apparent when you read it. And there's another aspect to the book that I noticed, but he explores it a little bit more in the essay. And I don't want to spoil what it is. Let's just say it has to do with conformity. And it made me think a lot more about the novel and how that played into it throughout the whole thing. And it made me appreciate it a little bit more. I still think I like the short story better, and I still think you should start there and read that. And if you like it, maybe move on to the novel, The Humanoids. But, this is a classic. It has some really great ideas and themes in both of these. So it's probably one of those ones that at some point, if you're a real fan of science fiction, you'll come across this one, and you should probably give it a read. Just know that it's going to suffer from some of the things that plagued some of these books from that era, but there's still a lot to offer in this one. So that's going to be it for that review. Next up, I'm reading Cosmic Engineers by Clifford Simic. And that I should be taking part in a read-along on Sean D. Standfast's channel later this weekend. So just look for that one coming out next. And once again, thanks for watching.